All right, so recording has begun. Let me start share my screen. Hope you're able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. So let's begin. Uh, in this today's session, so in previous sessions we have done so many, I think last session we talked about the CI/CD pipeline stages, right? So that is for one of the interview purpose. We just went ahead and explained the CI/CD workflow, but that's not the actual session. But yeah, that's ultimately we are going to build the CI/CD pipelines. That's for interview purpose. All right. So let's continue with the session. So today's session, like we need to work on. So for you hosted, so you hosted backend application in Python, hosted React app, hosted Java application, right? Not Java, HTML app, right? Okay. Simple HTML web application. Cool. So when it comes to the enterprise level, right? So enterprise level, so we have front end and we have back end and we also have database. All right. So since we covered two parts of it, so let's focus on database. So first of all, I think most of you studied in your college about DB, right? So when it comes to database, so what is the purpose? It is used to purpose use it to store the data, right? So I think you can exactly relate to your Excel sheet. So instead of using some high terminology, let me break it and use some very easy way to understand terminology. Okay, let's say Excel, right? So it has, for example, talk about student, right? So student has student ID. Instead of simply say like student ID and the student name and gender and so on, right? So when you look at this, right, so it is easy to understand that, okay, so this is a table, right? This is a table which I am creating, and let's say roll number one. So roll number one is, for example, Rohit, and his male gender, right? And other information, let's say where is Rohit from and his information, right? So this is how we store, correct? Right? So imagine this one currently I am writing it in a notepad, but you can easily relate to this Excel sheet, isn't it, guys? You can easily relate, right? So this was written in Excel sheet. Imagine exactly. Even in the database, we used to store information this way. If for example, if you go to a college, right? In college, if you see, they will be maintaining Excel sheet database. In the sense, they don't have any database. Instead, they open an Excel sheet, and then they have they have the student information, right? And let's say if you paid your fees, let's say like, okay, your total amount is 10,000 and you paid the first term as 5,000, right? And 5,000 is pending. So they keep updating the data. Instead of updating the database, what they update? They'll update the Excel sheet. Okay. By looking at the Excel sheet itself, they can understand whether you paid or not, right? So that's how they maintain data. But that is something, For example, imagine if the system got crashed, right? Or something, let's say, since it is a Excel sheet that is not even protected, right? Whoever have access to the mission, right, that particular laptop, they can go and modify. Understood? That's not safe. And even when you want to, let's say, in the Excel sheet, if there are 10,000, 10,000 student information, so it's hard to find also. If I want to find, let's say, Kiran in the Excel sheet, so it's hard to find a Kiran, right? So to manage this kind of complexity in IT, what we use databases to store information of, let's say, uh, it can be any information. It can be even image information or video information, any information. So we used to have a database for capturing and storing the information. So when we were working on the real-time environment, as a DevOps engineer, you were responsible to set up the database for your application. Okay, so application team will ask for, hey boss, so uh, I'm a front end guy, so the front end developers are working and back end. And for database, you need to set up. As a DevOps engineer, it's your responsibility to set up a database, right? So in this particular session, so we talk about in database also we have a few varieties of database, structured databases and unstructured databases. And when it comes to structured databases, we have PostgreSQL, MySQL, and Oracle database. And when it comes to the unstructured database, where you want to store unstructured information, so maybe we can talk about more on the unstructured data and other stuff. But when it comes to unstructured database, like we have MongoDB, we have Cassandra, and we have Redis DB. So these are very, very important. Just one second, there was a distraction. Hold on. Sorry guys, there is a background disturbance, so I want to distract it. All right. So one uh, so now that you understood, like, what are the structured databases and unstructured database list, right? So let's focus on installing a few databases. Let's say, so Postgres is one of the famous DB that the enterprise application will be using, and MySQL, Oracle, right? And for unstructured, the famous one is MongoDB. So MongoDB. So when to use unstructured database? For example, let's say here you are seeing the information is like structured in the sense that, hey, when you enter the information, right? So you'll give the person information, you know the information. But when you don't know what kind of data I'm going to insert, I'm going to insert, for example, let's say in the same columns only. But imagine the person I want I want to insert unstructured data. In the sense, data is not known. I can insert left, right. See, um, unstructured DB, like something like this. We used to store in dictionary format actually. So when it comes to maybe we can talk about more on MongoDB when we reach MongoDB, we talk about that. But in this today's session, right? So we focus on PostgreSQL, right? So let's try to understand how to set up. So in this session, we're going to set up Postgres database and test it. Okay, test it if it is working. Okay, so and it is very important to understand most of the enterprise applications. So we will use Linux as the operating system. Okay, and for installing anything on the Linux, right? So it's a command based. Okay, you need to understand how do you search for what kind of Linux commands. Since you already aware to install anything sudo apt, right? Install and the application name. Even DB also exactly same. Okay, so we'll try to understand today. Like I'll also show you like how to give a prompt, right? So for your case, since you already have WSL installed, if you don't have WSL, no problem. WSL is available already in most of the Windows machines. If not available, you can use GCP virtual machine, right? This also Linux machine. Okay, so now in this session, I'll be using WSL for my local. Let me go ahead and search. So in the Windows, WSL, if it opens it, yeah, WSL is opened. But if we check for this, see, it is in home color. But what I have to do, I have to mount this Linux to Windows machine. So CD space MNT. So this will mount, right? Cool. Now, so what is the next step actually? So first step is we need to install Postgres, right? So it's not direct, a sudo apt install Postgres. No, not that way. Instead, before installing anything, before installing anything, first step is step one. So update and upgrade the Linux packages. So how do you do it? This you already aware. Sudo apt update, sudo apt upgrade, right? For this one, if you do -y, meaning prompt S for all prompts, -y for everything. Since you know now, instead of triggering two commands, let's fire one command and say double M, right? So if you do this, which means that boss execute this, first execute this command. If it is successful, so if it is good, then execute this. Okay, like that you can give a sequence of commands which we already discussed in the session. So since it is trying to, yeah, looks like it got, it got executed. Let me go back here. Now let me search for. You can use any of the prompts here. Use ChatGPT for your prompts. Install and test Postgres database in Linux machine. Okay. So your goal is like install and test Postgres database in Linux machine. Okay. If you do this, let's see whether I'm happy with the search results, right? So on Ubuntu on Debian, so like most of the systems that we use are Ubuntu or Ubuntu. You can say like Ubuntu or Ubuntu. That's fine. Debian systems. So we used to use this command to install this install PostgreSQL, sudo apt install PostgreSQL, and PostgreSQL contribution -y for S for all prompts, right? Okay. Next, initialize the database cluster. So what you have to do? So this command you already know. So for starting and stopping the services, use a systemctl, right? Status to check whether it is running or not, correct? Then switch to the Postgres user, like it's a default user, switch user. And then to access the PostgreSQL prompt, you should use this command, right? See something like this. You'll be seeing this. And create a test database and user, meaning same thing, I was talking about this, right? Student information. So maybe this table name is uh, student table, correct? When you go back here, so create a database DB here and create user. Username is test user and encrypted password. So password you can give like this. Grant all privileges. This we don't care about this. So just a copy paste job only. Okay, but you need to understand this is the username and this is the password. Okay, you have to preserve this. And once you're done, what I do, you can exit from there and uh, try logging as your new user. You can also test with your simple query. Manage service, verify installation. All right. So instead of this, I'll quickly show you in the easiest way. Okay. So how we can do it is, so first of all, let me install the Postgres. So installing this is the command. Mostly in my WSL it should be there. Okay. Already newest version. So automatically install. Okay, this is already there, right? And what is the next command? Initialize the database cluster if needed. So back here, if you see this information, like it is loaded in Postgres service, Postgres SQL RDBMS, it's working, right? So if you see this information, which means that it is running, Postgres service is running. Okay, and once you're done with it, then you can. So this way you can start, this you already aware. Systemctl enable Postgres. Who can tell me what this enable will do?
It enables the Postgres.
When it will enable?
After executing this query, it gets enabled.
No, it gets enabled. But what is the
Yeah.
purpose of this command? In the last session, we discussed when we use this command systemctl enable Postgres SQL, right? So enable it will what it will do
After
is it will
system,
it enables the service on your system reboot. Let's say when you restart your mission, right? So if you issue this command, it by default enable the service. Kiran, you're talking something,
I was answering, sir. Same thing. Yeah.
right? Did we miss anything on this, Sirisha? In the last, in the session of Nginx server, we were talking about, right? So when you
Yes.
want to keep enable this and the boot, you have to give this command.
Okay.
Okay. So when you see this, which means that you are able to successfully enable it. So meaning next time when you boot your, restart your mission, automatically the service gets started and running as a service, right? Cool. Uh, Go back here and now we have to start the service. So those this right. So systemctl start Postgres. Service has been started, and now you need to. How do you verify it? Systemctl status only, no, the same command, right? Cool. Now PostgreSQL creates a default system user called Postgres, right? So now we would want to switch to the user, switch to the Postgres user. Command to sudo -i. Got it. Now if you see this message, see I have done a switch to user. If you don't see any errors, right, so you are good actually. All right, and then access the Postgres prompt. Okay, then what we are doing, we are trying to create some table. Cool, no problem. We'll try to do that. So you have to type PSQL. You are saying the same prompt, right? So exactly same. You are saying this, right? You will see something like this. Once you're done, what you have to do, you have to execute this. Simply copy this, execute, done. So what's your mistakenly what I have done is I simply copy pasted. But here, what's my username? Test user is my username. What is the password? Password 123 is my password. You got it? So instead you can use user is Kemakala, for example, and password I can keep my password, whatever I remember. Right? So once you're done, you can execute it. You can exit from the terminal. So here. So this is what we do actually for setting up the database. Once you are done with the setting of the database, you can say that to the application team, boss, the DB is set up and it is ready for use, right? But how do you make sure whether the setup DB is working fine or not? Okay, so it's very important to understand the concept. So if you want to test it, right? So if you see, this is the local host, right? So try logging in as see if you want to see test the connection, right? Try logging as your new user. So Postgres SQL is a command actually for to use your Postgres SQL database. So this is a command which would help you to So we are using CD, right? CD for what? Changing the directory, right? mkdir to create a new folder. In the same way, if you want to interact with the Postgres, you need to have a Postgres. This is a command. PostgreSQL user and DB test DB. So where this got created, database. If you see here, while doing this, create database. What's the database name? Test DB is the database name, and we have created a user with the encrypted password. Okay, and we grant all permissions, right? So this is what we have done. We grant all permissions to the database to user test user. So test user we only created, no? Just now we copied and executed, right? This is where we created a database. So now that you know what is the database, what is the username, what is the user password, right? So once you have this information, right? So this here itself in the terminal you can test it. So we can test it in few ways, right? So I just copied it as terminal information and paste it here. If and it is asking for password. So just go back here. Generally, when you do this, right? Double click, right click and copy. And if you just give right click, guys, okay. So Control V and L won't work. If we do a right click, automatically it pasted there and enter. Did you see this? You should not use Control V. Control means Control V. It will not work. Okay, you have to give a copy pass, copy password, and the mouse right click. This enters. Okay, cool. So once you see this, then once you see this, right, you will see a prompt like this. Then you can test with your simple query. So something like this, because um, now that in this query what we are doing, we are creating table. So meaning the way we have done, right. So the way we have created a table, ID, name, gender, right. So similarly, what we are trying to do, I'm trying to use the this is the SQL commands actually, SQL statements we used to say. So here create table employees, meaning the table name is employees. In that ID is serial. There's a primary key. Maybe we can talk more about the primary key because that's not your job actually. That's a database administrator job or DB team job actually. Our job is to set up the database, and this is for our basic testing. See that the DB is working and you're able to access to it. Understood? So this command is used to create a table. maybe I can, okay, no problem. We can directly use it. Instead of this, instead one go copy, it fires this all commands in one go. Got it? So what it's saying was it's not happy, right? Did you see this? It's not happy, this commands. If you see this error, relation implies does not exist. Cool? Permission denied for schema public. So let's try to execute one by one and see if it works. If it is not working, also no problem, guys. Okay, so go back here. Now I'm trying to create a table. So what is the thing? Permission denied for schema public. See, we have given role for 1 second. See if there is any issue with this. Table. If you see this, create the permission denied for public schema. Not sure why. Let's quickly ask our boss ChatGPT. Go back here. So connect as a Postgres super user, right? Um, First, exit the PostgreSQL. It is asking to exit from this terminal. So if you want to do this, you have to use this Q, escape Q, \Q. It is exited. Now it is saying, boss, you just log in as this guy. Connect this as a main Postgres admin user. Okay. Cool. You are a Postgres. You are it got switched, right? So now it's got a Postgres user, admin user, right? And then you can now that you can give the privilege to this particular same thing, grant all permissions to a DB to test user. So for test user we were giving every permission, like a schema level public schema level permission, like a schema public permission to this user. And it's just that, guys. So we don't care, but you need to understand that since previously for this user he does not have certain permissions. Now we are giving permissions. That's how you should understand. Okay, nothing else. Once you're done with this, go back here, copy, paste. Okay, grant command not found. So if you see this, because it didn't enter really. One second. So oh, cancel. Okay, got it. So we should not use once we hear. Let's execute this one by one. Oh, grant is not there, right? Grant is not there. It has to enter to that terminal actually, right? So once you are here, because it has to log into the terminal, okay? So right, it has to log in here, otherwise it does not recognize. Now let's try this. Cool, that it worked. And grant the schema permission for this user. Cool, grant is successful. And this permission, what is this permission? Role as a test such path. Okay. We don't care what is that and all, but yeah, let's give all the permissions which is required. Once it is done, um, to be extra sure, you can make sure test user is owner of the database, right? So let's do that. Someone trying to. Right. So once it is done, what are you saying? To extra sure, you can make sure test user is owner of the database, right? So try to see, right? Cool. And then you can quit. can quit from here. Once we quit, now we want to test the stuff actually, right? So how do you test it? See here, reconnect as a test user and try. So PS is PSQL, right? This is a command. Now let's try to execute this command. Password. So if you remember password, that's fine. I don't remember. So this my when we do a search, right? So here we set the password. Password this one. Password 23. Directly we copy paste it. Just right click and enter. If you do a control C, it won't work, guys. Okay. And once you're done with this, so now I want to create this table. So just that copy this back here. Did you see this? Table is created. I tried to create this way. So exactly, I can see that we created with this command. If you see here, this is a table name. I created table and inserted the data into the table. So I think if you have a basic knowledge of SQL, so when you're studying your graduation, right? So they must have taught you with the MySQL, right? So MySQL database or Mongo database. If you don't know also, this is not a rocket science. It is just that you need to understand there is a table, right? There is a table in that we are going to insert the data. So this is how we can create a table. This is how we are going to this like this two lines will go and insert the data inside this table. And here now, if you want to display the information, like select to start from table. So this would display every information which is available inside employees table. Okay, that's what we have seen this, right? So if you go back here, we, we were able to see this information also. Understood. Now that it is clear that I am able to access the database, right? I am able to create table. I am able to view the table information. Correct. So from your side, you are clean. From the DevOps perspective, you are good. You don't see any issue. Okay. Now I want to exit from here. Let's say if I exit from here, now I want to test this connection. Okay. And if you see, what is the what is IP address here for a Postgres where Postgres is running? If you look at this screen, in the screen itself, you can see the IP address, one IP address,
It's 127 dot.
127.0.0.1. So this is the local host IP address. Okay. So and the Postgres SQL by default runs at port 5432. That's a port number. I think, did we mention anywhere? Once again, let's see. When we install itself by default, uh, it runs at 5432. I think we didn't mention anywhere. But originally, when we start itself, start Postgres, it runs at 5432. Let's say how to check the port number used by Postgres in Linux. Show port, see here. It will display if you are already connected to Postgres. It is asking us to because we didn't connect it. Show port, right? Not showing anything. So there is a like if you don't know about this, that's fine. There is one configure. See, whenever you install anything, right, there should be a configuration file. Okay, so if you want to see, exit from here, cat etc. Let's see cd. Oh, okay, I have to come out from this terminal. Exit Q. Oh, escape Q. Right, sorry. Yeah, escape Q to exit. Right now, cat etc. see. Oh, etc. Postgres. Is there available? Yeah, Postgres. So most of the configurations available under etc folder. Okay, go here. Now there is something called you're able to see Postgres conf, right? So this is the file actually. Now if you execute this, oh, it says there's a space, right? Now you can see the port number when you scroll a little bit up. Default port is 5432. But in this file itself, you can if you want, if you want to change your port, you can change here. There are so much information available, but we don't need all the information. Don't worry about okay, why the hell it is displaying all the information. We don't care about that, right? So that's where this in this case, Linux command help like anything, right? How do I filter? That's a file filter port,
Great.
right? Correct, no? Now what's the port number?
5432.
Right. Cool. So now that we understand this Postgres information, okay, uh, let's quickly come back here. So Postgres DB details. What's the IP address? 127.0.1, right? This is a host, and you also know port. What's the port number?
5432.
Right, and you also know the username, and you also know the password of the user, right? Cool. Now, if you go back here, this terminal, right? Not here, here. Now that we know the user, who is user here? Test user. Username is test user. You can give proper names, guys, okay? And what is the password? So when you're referring the password, you have to go
Password
back.
123.
Right. I don't remember. So so but when you create it, use your names, guys, okay? So to make it more comfortable, I written like this. Okay, exactly copy pasted. Now, so currently, this is hosted in my mission. Okay, my mission IP address is what? My mission IP address is 127. Imagine your task for today is set up the same thing with GCP VM. Okay, set up the same thing with GCPM. Now you understood. You need to install Postgres SQL in the GCP cloud virtual machine. Since you have access to the VM service, you should be able to do it. Okay, this one, because see, whatever you are doing in the terminal, you are going to repeat them only, guys. Okay, nothing else, right? The complete information will be shared. Okay, so once you are done with this, right? Now, in order to test this, this is your assignment. And for testing, how do you test it? So for Postgres, we have something called Pgadmin. So Pgadmin is a tool. See, because writing like this, entering into PostgreSQL, PSQL, and then writing some. These are completely messy things, right? And you don't even remember. Okay, but as a human being, right? So we already addicted to the like a user interface, right? Like a tool. So for interacting with this one, for creating tables and doing everything in the manually by visually, so there is the tool called Pgadmin. Okay, so let's go ahead and download Pgadmin. Okay, just search Pgadmin. It's open here. This is a tool we use a lot actually. And go to downloads and choose your distribution, like your OS is what, Windows OS. And here latest is 4 version 9.9.8. Click here. Okay, and here you can see two files. So you need a exe file. Just click here and it starts downloading it. So once you have this file downloaded, you would need to install this file, install this application. Okay, so Pgadmin. So this would help you to connect with any database. So if you have Pgadmin, even from your local, in your local machine, you can connect to a remote machine. So what you have to do, simply you have to give the host IP. What's your host IP in GCP? Who can tell me quickly? When you create a VM, one IP address will be created. Is it a public IP or private IP? Two will be there.
Public one. Public one.
Yeah, yeah. That is the external IP you can see when you use your virtual machine. So that IP we had to use actually. Okay, so once this is downloaded, today you need to do a lot of assignments, guys. Okay, so installing MongoDB, installing Postgres, test with some basic Python script, or you can test it any number of ways. Okay, now I want to run this. Just double click. Okay, so don't tell me install for all users. That's fine. Simple, accept it. That's it. So I'm trying to install this. So now that after installing, if I go and check it, so whatever information I'm seeing, right, whatever table I created. So here before this, we created a table. No, that table I should able to see in the Pgadmin tool. Yeah, we created this table, correct? What is it? Employees table. Employees table. I should able to see this table visually also. Okay, that's where now we are working. I don't want to use the terminal for interacting with the database. Instead, Postgres would help me to connect to this database now. Actually, visually I can see it neatly, right? So let's quickly install. So it takes a minute or two to finish the installation. Once it is done, you're good to use Pgadmin. Cool. It is done. So once it is done, directly go here, search Pgadmin. You should be able to see this. Just now this is got installed. Open it. This is a tool, guys, where we use for interacting with, even developers use for interacting with the database. Cool. Now, if you go and see, there is local or anything, that's okay. I think I want to delete. I don't want to keep anything. Let me do a fresh one. Right? Is there a way to delete this? I think register, remove the server. I don't want this server. Now, see, when you open up Pgadmin for very first time, you see this window. Understood? And if you want to connect one server, meaning you would want to connect to a server, right? So if you want to do it, there is option add a new server. Click here. If you click, you can click here, or if you just click, how is it? Here, if you right click, register server, that also you can do. But since the screen is already visible, it's for a beginner. So here you can add a new server. So meaning now I'm trying to connect to the server, PG server, which is running in this Linux machine. Okay, cool. Create a new server, and here you can give your server name. Let's say this name can be anything. Linux, Postgres. This can be any name. That even you can give your name also. That doesn't matter really. Okay, and here this is very important. Okay, so when it comes to here, you need to understand what's your host name or address. Here you have to give your host address. What's your host address? 127.0.0.1. This has to be clean. And port number by default 5432. That's why it came out with 5432. And maintenance database. So maintenance database, let's give a default one. That's fine. Or what our DB we created. So while working on this script, if you go back here, so what's the maintenance database? Test DB. That one. This is what we created, right? You can keep this. This is the target DB. Username. Go back here. What's the username that we have given? Test user. And make sure. See, for example, when I do a uh, see, it is copied space also. So be sure that you properly copying the data. So username is this test user. And what's the password? We go back here. Password 123. Got it? That's it. So save password. If you just save password next time, you can directly connect. Okay. Now, if you see the connection, the server name Linux Postgres server, or you can give anything. I can give my name also. Let's say Kumar DB, for example. This can be any name, guys. Okay. Just save the connection. There you go, guys. See, if you see this screen, meaning it get connected actively, and if you just extract, right, and here you see databases, extract this, and here you see what's the DB that we created. When you go back here, you are seeing other DB, but what's our DB? We created database name as DB name is test DB, right? Cool. So in this test DB, what is the table name? Table name you can see under the schemas. See, there is some schemas. If you extract public, and here you can see table information. Our employee table is available. Okay. If you right click on this, there is a view or edit, right? So view all rows. If you exclude this, right, you can see those roles. You can see these rows which we created in the PostgreSQL. Understood? No, whatever we created, so that information is available here. This is what we created from the Linux terminal prompt, and now we can able to clearly see. You can manage, right? Visually, you can see. If you want to insert, also see, you can directly. There is option edit range, like for just showing rows actually. But if you want to add, so here itself you can add. Let's say row number is 3. Generally, we don't do it. Kumar, for example, click OK. And what is that? The second one. Let's say student, for example. So once you're done with it, you can save it. So how you can save it? Copy, paste. Is there a way to say it? I think there should be a way. Or is it also okay? There's apply. So there's this option apply, right? When you do apply, so some reason it's not happy. So let me, and one more thing, you can also do this with directly. There is something called if you right click, there's something called query tool. By using this query tool, whatever we have done there, right? I try to create I try to insert data, right? So there's a query I have used, correct? So we try to use this query back here. I can directly execute it, but this is not your job. Okay, so this I'm giving it a sample to if you're really excited to use Postgres for at least some basic understanding. So insert into our values, and here let's say now that I want to give two values. See Kumar, let's say he's a student, for example, and let's say Rohit. So for example, he's a principal. Okay, so highlight this, and if there is a play button, if you click this, so inserted, two rows inserted actually. Okay, so how you can check this now? If you want to check, select store from table. What is the table name? Employees table. That's it. So just highlight. So you need to highlight actually. Without highlighting, no, if you execute, right, so it's coming out generally, but originally if you want to execute, so you have to highlight this and execute. Okay, so this information got stored because why? Because we are, if I do this, what happening? It is executing this query previously in the previous version of Postgres, right? We have to highlight, whatever query. Maybe we have 100 queries like this, so you have to highlight and execute. Then only that will execute. But nowadays, the latest version supporting, even I am not sure, I'm not aware about this actually. But what it is doing, whenever you do this, it's simply executing it. Did you see this? It is keep inserting this Kumar student, duplicate records. Kumar student, Rohit principal, and store means it fetch the data. That's clear, huh? Like now that you understood how to set up Postgres in your Linux machine and running, and connect with. So in this session, what we covered is, so installed install Postgres in Linux, and then created tables, and used Postgres pgadmin to use the to connect and use the Postgres database. Okay, so now that you understood how to install Postgres in the Linux box and use it, right? So your job today, so first task, right? Repeat the same thing in your local machine. That's the task number one. Next, task number two, repeat the same thing in Google, in the GCP VM, and access the Postgres from your local pgadmin. So you should say, I think you have to share the host name and other details with me. Okay, I'll test it whether you have completed the task or not. Okay, this is the, and once you complete this two, so these two are top priority. So this is a P1 work actually, priority one. So priority two, same thing, same thing, but install Mongo, same thing, or set up Mongo in your local machine. Use compass. So for Postgres, we are using Pgadmin, right? For MongoDB, you should use compass. Use Mongo compass, compass to access your MongoDB, not Mongo. Oh, sorry, MongoDB. So this is P2, meaning my top priority is this to be done today quickly. Okay, it won't guys. If you see the session, right? So it finished less than less than 1 hour. Understood. So you have to do this, meaning it will take maybe if you take 2 more hours or 3 more hours or 4 more hours, absolutely fine. Okay, but you have to do this. Once you're done with this, right? So you should set up your MongoDB in your local. Okay, use Mongo Canvas to access your DB, right? That's P2. Okay, less priority, but this is important. And once, let's say, if you are able to complete P1 task, P2 task, the third priority is same in your GCP mission, and use Mongo Compass to your access your MongoDB, access your MongoDB running in the GCP. Use you are free to use ChatGPT, guys. Okay, so you are free to use ChatGPT. Even I can share this public link. If you want, you can use this search result also. So I'm just sharing this with you. And I do this, right? So this is the command that we have used. Maybe you can use your own way for one search for your data. Otherwise, if you directly blindly copy paste, no, you won't get it actually. Okay. Um, so copy link. I'm copying for your reference for today's session. Okay. So now that expectation from you is this should be completed before evening. So if you are able to complete before evening, let's since it's Saturday, let's have one more session. Let me stop the recording.